Hello and welcome to another battle report. This is a tournament battle report. It's the first round game where I faced Space Wolves with Nemesis Strike Force allied in. The tournament rules allowed for repeating detachments or formations, so I brought 2 Wraith Knights. It also allowed multiple Lords of War. I took a Craft World War host. I have a Guardian battle host. Then I have an Aspect host, and then I have 2 Wraith Knights. You can see my Tax Viper up in the left corner with a Shuriken Cannon. That's it. 7 spiders, 7 hawks, and 7 more spiders. I didn't get a really good picture of my opponent's army when it was set up. He has 3 small units of Thunderwolf Cavalry. I think he took the Sons of Fenris formation or detachment. So he's got 2 Wolf Lords. He's got Storm Shields, like 3 in each unit, and I think he's got a Power Fist and Lightning Claws in each unit. He's got 2 Dread Knights with all the fixings, a Librarian, and some regular Grey Knight dudes. He's also got 2 units of Scouts, 1 unit which he deployed, and the other unit he plans to have outflanking. We played the buildings as modeled, so AV-12 with 3 hull points, able to hold 20 guys in them. Which comes back to bite me later on because I forget that one of the sides of the building doesn't have any windows on it. We see in deployment here, I've deployed a unit of Guardians inside the building. That's where the missile platform is reminding us of that. And distortion cannons of the Farseer on top of the building. There is an access hatch to it, but we're not playing it as battlements, so you don't get a cover save up there. I decided to put both Wraith Knights side by side and see if they could help keep each other out of trouble. They're both sword and board with a pair of scatter lasers. So here we are at the top of turn 1. This is ATC mission 1, so there's going to be progressive scoring on 4 objectives, and then there's Emperor's Will, and then the center of the table is an objective as well that has to be controlled at the end of the game. He shunts 1 knight over. He moves and runs his Thunderwolf Cav, and he shuffles up the 2 units of Thunderwolves over here, keeping them out of charge range of my knights. The Librarian stays out of the building so that he can cast some blessings. So it's the bottom of turn 1. You can see that he put 1 wound on one of the distortion cannons there with his Grey Knight, and there's the blank wall that doesn't have a single window modeled in it. I was going to have my Guardians shoot his Dread Knight, but that did not work. But the distortion cannons did kill a couple of wolves, and they actually broke and started running off the table, but they didn't run far enough. So here we are at the top of turn 2. The Dread Knight makes it into assault with the distortion cannons. The Farseer, he kills 3 Guardians, but thankfully due to leadership 10, they stick in there. He doesn't issue a challenge, and I don't make one myself either. The Thunderwolf Cavalry fail, I think it was a 7-inch charge to the building. They were going to charge the building and crush it, but they don't make it. And over here, both units of the Thunderwolves and the other Dread Knight make it into assault. Now these are actually 2 separate assaults. One of them has the Dread Knight and the Wolf Lord in his unit, and then the other one is just a unit of the Thunderwolves, the one on the left, against the Red Wraith Knight. He fails to get Force off for the Dread Knight on 4 dice. And that is probably the difference right there in that round of combat. The other difference being, of course, that his Wolf Lord rolls like 3 ones to wound. Total disaster for him. So this is the bottom of turn 2. My opponent is winning, I think, 2-1 on the progressive objectives. And I'm learning that Stomp is your best friend. Having a 5-up invulnerable is fantastic. It really, that plus the 5-up Feel No Pain, the double layer of protection makes Wraith Knights really resilient. And then Stomp is your best friend. You can cover multiple models, and if you roll a 6, they just pick them up, which is great. Otherwise, though, with the swords, he's been making his invulnerable saves, and so it's not that devastating. The Swooping Hawks came in, and they shot up the Librarian that had separated out from the other guys. The other guys are actually in the building. The Warwalkers shot at the building and stripped 2 hull points off of it, but it has 1 remaining just with glances. Here's a complete and utter whiff fest. That's 10 Guardians. That's actually 1 missile and 9 Guardians shooting at that 5-man scout squad there, and did not do a single wound to them. So those Guardians are toast. The other Guardians and the Viper that came on The Guardians took care of these scouts easily, and so the Viper was able to just go flat out and tuck itself in the corner of the building. And the close combat up on top, I managed to make my invulnerable saves against that Dread Knight, and so the combat continues. Alright, so I didn't film this turn because something hilarious happened. He assaulted the building and then punched it to death and actually blew it up 3 times, like times 3. And he did that before he resolved the close combat on the roof. And as a result, both his Dread Knight and my Farseer fell off the building because it exploded. And my Farseer died. He took like, I don't know, 9 wounds or something like that. The Dread Knight didn't take any wounds at all. But that was super funny, and I don't think anything else really of note happened, other than his Thunderwolf Lord charged the 10 Guardians that had come in and whiffed. And he wiped them. Alright, so the bottom of turn 3. The Guardians in the right and the Viper in the bottom left there combine to take out the Dread Knight. I get a couple Rens and he fails his invulnerable. The other Guardians there don't do anything to those 2 Thunderwolves. The Warp Spiders drop in over by those scouts and take them out. And then over here, the Red Wraith Knight finally clears out the Thunderwolves, and the one on the right is still stuck in combat. 2 Thunderwolves assault the Guardians there that are sitting on my Emperor's Will objective. They don't break, and if they manage to survive 2 more rounds of combat, they'll actually hold that objective. The Wolf Lord charges the other unit of Guardians, breaks them, but 1 survives. He'll need Snake Eyes to regroup, though. And in other news, I finally killed this other Wolf Lord, and my Wraith Knights are free to roam again. This is the bottom of turn 4, but it is essentially the bottom of turn 5. The 2 Thunderwolf Cav in the bottom right-hand corner there, they hold that Emperor's Will objective. I'm not able to move them off the table. I hold the center objective, and the only difference between this and turn 5 is that lone Space Marine right there is gone. I managed to kill him in close combat, having wrecked the building and kicked him out of it. That's it.